Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to SERI 2020. I am Atri Mandal from IBM Research India, and today I am going to talk about practical considerations for deploying AI-infused software applications at scale. My collaborator for this work is Shivali Agarwal, also from IBM Research India. In today's talk, I'll go over a specific use case of a deployed AI-based application and discuss some of our experiences and practical challenges we faced, and also highlight some of the best practices we followed. Before going into details, let me briefly talk about the motivation for our work. When we started this project 3 years back, our primary focus was to choose the right model which gives the best results and design it. But over the course of time, we realized that it's equally or perhaps more important to address the practical concerns around deployment and the software engineering challenges associated with it. For example, how do I know that the model is continuing to work correctly after initial deployment and that business objectives are still being met? What is the backup plan if things don't work as expected? It's important to remember that in production, we'll see a lot of unexpected changes that we probably didn't see in the training data. Is our system robust enough to handle such changes? And then there are practical concerns like hardware constraints, security, data privacy issues, and so on. In the next few slides, I'm going to talk about some of these issues and also how we overcame them. With that, let's look at the application for today's talk. Automated help desk ticket assignment and dispatch. Basically, every large company has a help desk to address queries from users. The task of the help desk agent is to look at the user query, which is usually sent in the form of an email or web form, understand it, and send it to the relevant resolver group or team for resolution. Our work aims to automate all these tasks with the help of AI. The assignment engine predicts the correct resolver group along with a few other mandatory fields like incident type, severity, problem category, etc. Creates the ticket with the predicted fields and then dispatches it. Our system has so far been deployed in 6 external accounts and has served more than 2 million tickets in production. This translates to a saving of about $50,000 per annum. For more technical details of the system, please refer to the paper mentioned in the bottom of the slide. For every AI-based application, there are 2 distinct design phases. The bootstrapping or the initial phase, when the models are trained for the first time, and the long-term maintenance phase. It's important to keep both these aspects in consideration when designing the system. Precisely the reason why we looked for simple training models. Simple models are easier to train and maintain, require less storage, and have less hardware constraints like memory, disk, GPU availability, etc. To deliver results consistently, we require a robust strategy for retraining. So this is also a key design consideration for us. Another key aspect is to ensure business continuity in the face of changing business requirements. Business decision driven changes can often render models trained on historical data invalid. And in these cases, incremental or online training also cannot be made to work, because there will be some time during which the machine learning models won't be able to catch up with the changes, and in the interim period, we will continue to see a lot of misclassifications. So it's very important to design keeping all these kind of changes in mind. And while doing all this, we also need to ensure minimum human intervention. We all know that ML models are never 100% accurate. So there will be a need for some human intervention from time to time to meet business goals and objectives. But can we keep the supervision to a minimum? Last but not the least, we need to stress on runtime scalability. And this is, of course, something that goes without saying. To put things in perspective, for our application, we show the table on the left containing dataset stats for 3 of our largest accounts. What makes our application challenging is the number of distinct classes and the utterance overlap between these classes. We can see that the biggest account has more than 400 different resolver groups, and many of them work on very similar problems. At this scale, it is quite difficult to get a decent accuracy using just traditional machine learning or even deep learning. We'll elaborate this more in subsequent slides. Let us first look at some of the design considerations for machine learning models. When we trained the model with our first dataset, we got a very modest accuracy of about 75%, which was way below our target. We first tried some conventional text preprocessing techniques on the data, like stop-word removal, lemmatization, entity extraction, etc. But none of these techniques seem to help much. But when we analyzed the results carefully, we found that there were only a handful of confused classes which accounted for most of the misclassifications. We also noted that some of these confused classes had very few samples, and getting adequate accuracy with ML was anyways not possible for these classes. Then we started removing some of these classes from our data, and the accuracy started increasing dramatically. This gave rise to a long tail strategy where we divide the training data into two parts, namely IT and IL, based on a frequency Pareto chart as shown in the figure to the right. Only IT or the frequent classes are used for our training. The cool thing is that IT or the top classes represent only about 20% of all the classes in our data, but at the same time account for more than 90% of the actual data. And this is a characteristic which we observed consistently across all our datasets. So this simple approach eliminates most of the noise and class imbalance problems, and at the same time helps us train with simpler models. By the way, we don't eliminate the long tail or the remaining 10% of the data. Also, we just use a different technique to handle the long tail, as we'll show in later slides. So basically, with this simple strategy, we get the best of both worlds: more accuracy, less complexity, and pretty much the same coverage. When we started out with our first dataset, we were very excited about the prospect of using fancy AI approaches and gradually seeing an uptrend in the accuracy graph. But to our surprise, we found that even with heavyweight DL techniques, which needed weeks to train, we couldn't push the accuracy up by more than 1 to 2% at most. In fact, for two of our largest accounts, the best algorithms were SVM and MLP, support vector machines and feed-forward neural nets. For the third account though, LSTM performed marginally better than MLP. But again, if we compare the training times, MLP took 1 hour to train, while LSTM took more than a week. There are also other practical concerns, like how much training data we have and what kind of hardware is available, GPU cluster is there or not. So keeping in mind all these concerns, we finally chose an ensemble of SVM and MLP. The final results are shown in the table. Of course, the results shown in this table may vary across datasets, and for some applications, we simply cannot use simple algorithms. But the takeaway here is that as a general rule, we must try our best to keep things simple unless there is a very strong and compelling reason. Another key design consideration in a classification problem like ours is the balance or trade-off between accuracy and coverage. Accuracy is the number of times we predict correctly, while coverage is the number of times we are confident about the prediction and so can create the ticket automatically without any human intervention. Accuracy is no doubt important, but if coverage is not good, we simply lose the benefit of automation, because most of the work will then be done by a human anyways. This is why it is important to choose complementary algorithms for an ensemble, which will simultaneously increase accuracy and coverage. In our case, we chose human precision as a threshold for accuracy and coverage as 80%, but this of course can vary based on business objectives. The choice of threshold is shown in the two charts on the right, and it can be seen that SVM and MLP complement each other really well, and so this is a good choice. The table at the bottom shows the final accuracy results, and these results confirm our choice of the ensemble classifiers. So far, we have been discussing mostly about machine learning models, but we must remember that in the real world, we have to deal with unpleasant realities like unpredictable changes, bad training data, etc. For example, I remember we had trained our ensemble classifier with about 1 lakh tickets, and it was working with an accuracy of 90%. But then we received some newer ticket data from the client, and on this new data set, the accuracy came out to be less than 80% all of a sudden. Definitely, this was not a problem with less training data. So what exactly happened? It turned out that because of some business optimizations, some of the resolver teams were merged. And so all our previous training data was no longer valid. In fact, we came to know that such changes were pretty normal, not an exception. This is only one of many other unpredictabilities we faced on the road to deployment, and we came to realize that a pure machine learning solution is just not practical. Firstly, there will be exception cases of tickets requiring deep domain knowledge and expertise, which will be misclassified by ML. We cannot ignore them. Secondly, we didn't consider the long tail classes for training, and as such, they will not be predicted by our models. To predict them, we need business rules. And then, of course, we have the sudden changes, which I described before. To take care of all these scenarios, we build the rule engine. The rule engine is our insurance or fallback strategy against unpredictable scenarios. However, to reduce manual work in designing rules from scratch, we also implemented a rule discovery logic which automatically mines rules using a decision tree-based classifier. The rules are then manually verified by SMEs, and only the correct rules are retained for the rule engine. That's in a nutshell, but there are some more complexities and very clever engineering tricks that we applied in the rule engine design, for all of which you can refer to our paper. Finally, we come to the most important part, the actual dispatch of the ticket. Although this looks straightforward, we did some clever engineering to combine the results of ensemble and rule engine to further improve our performance metrics. We always apply rules to the output of the model in order to disambiguate in case of confusion. If we directly use the rule engine on the ticket, we would have to disambiguate between 400 classes, which is really difficult. Instead, we allow ML to remove most of the confusion and restrict the results to a few top classes which belong to the commonly confused set. Once ML has removed the disambiguity, we then apply, once ML has removed the ambiguity, we then apply rule to specifically disambiguate between the confused set, which is of course much easier and also less error prone. Also, another important thing to note is that we assign only when the confidence is above threshold, otherwise the ticket is sent to the manual queue. This is to avoid low quality prediction. The output of the rule engine is always logged, and this is done for additional explainability. This enables us to do further analysis on misclassifications and for ongoing improvement of the system. Scalability is as much a concern for AI-based applications as in all other software engineering problems. The difference here is that by controlling the model size, we not only improve training time, but at the same time, we also improve on runtime, as smaller model size means faster retrieval and faster classification during runtime. But again, there is a trade-off here. A smaller model size can also mean lower accuracy. So it's important to engineer the system in such a way that the accuracy is not affected while we reduce the model size and training time. For our experiments, we mainly use two techniques to improve accuracy: the long tail cutoff, which I have already described before, and TF-IDF with bigram features. The interesting thing to note is that the same techniques also reduce the training time and the model size. To go the extra mile in reducing the model size, we used MinDF, MaxDF feature selection, as well as chi-square. Overall, these techniques reduced our model size by almost 99%. The techniques can slightly vary based on the dataset, but by and large, the goal should be the same for most AI-based applications. Retraining is a topic on which we have been questioned time and again, and we cannot stress enough on this. As I already mentioned before, it's not enough to show initial accuracy numbers. Most businesses will want to know if this number will remain the same after 6 months or 1 year. Also, they might not have the necessary expertise to train another model with new data on their own. So we had to give them a robust solution which will run periodically and be able to maintain accuracy at desired levels with almost no manual intervention. We used a very simple technique, that of sliding windows. However, if we just use a normal sliding window, there is a possibility that in the next iteration, the training accuracy might go down. So what we did is, in addition to the current window, we also retained the most informative samples from the previous time steps. Specifically, we retained the misclassified tickets along with those selected by the margin sampling technique. Some of the misclassified samples may not be fully informative. So here we can consider analyzing the audit logs and resolution notes for selecting only the relevant misclassifications. Deployment is pretty straightforward. We used Flask bundled with GUnicorn and Nginx to support concurrent requests. The bundle is then Dockerized and deployed on Kubernetes, which gives us horizontal scalability. To maximize throughput, we used batch mode with asynchronous requests. The complete deployment architecture is shown here. Note that although we show this GPU cluster for the training, this was not always used for our deployment, but it was used wherever possible. Before concluding, I would like to recap the key takeaways from this talk. There are 7 key takeaways, which we like to call the 7 habits of highly effective AI. Of course, after the famous book by Stephen Covey. The key design takeaways are pre-processing to remove confusion, understanding key trade-offs for performance, and model simplicity. Cutting down model size using Kubernetes replicas, use of batching, and using asynchronous requests. These are for scalability. And finally, having a solid retraining strategy and having a rule engine with manually verifiable rules for long-term maintenance. Some of these may seem simple and obvious, but it's the collective effect of these simple methods which leads to a very robust solution. With that, we come to the end of the presentation. For more details, you can refer to the papers mentioned in this slide. Thanks a lot for attending.